The sound of a sharp slap cut through the quiet diner like breaking glass, freezing every fork mid-air and every breath in every chest. Coffee cups rattled, a chair scraped backward, and an elderly woman in a lavender cardigan trembled where she sat, her silver curls shaking as shock spread across her face. Outside the window, daylight fell gently on the small town, but inside, something heavy and painful had just changed the air forever. No one moved at first, not even the men in uniform whose anger seemed louder than the clatter of dishes. In the far corner, a tall soldier in camouflage stood still beside a focused German shepherd, watching silently, his eyes carrying a storm he kept carefully contained. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel so more people can hear stories that remind us of our humanity. The woman's name was Margaret Hill, 73 years old, a retired school librarian who had spent her life helping children learn to read and believe in themselves. She came to the diner every Tuesday, sitting by the window where sunlight usually made her feel safe. That morning had begun like any other, with pancakes, warm tea, and a quiet smile, until the sheriff entered with heavy boots and a mood that darkened the room. The townspeople had grown used to his loud presence, but few had ever seen him lose control like this. Margaret's face, marked now by a small streak of blood, reflected more sadness than fear, as if she could not understand how someone sworn to protect could become the one causing harm. Across the room, the men in camouflage shifted slightly. He looked young but carried himself with calm precision, his posture straight, his movements careful. His German shepherd stood alert at his side, ears forward, eyes scanning every movement. The soldier had returned home after years away, hoping to reconnect with memories that felt distant. He had planned to surprise his mother with lunch, watching quietly from a distance before greeting her. Instead, he witnessed a moment that tested everything he had learned about discipline and restraint. His heart pounded, but he did not rush forward. Years of training had taught him that true strength meant choosing the right moment, not the loudest one. The diner filled with tension as people avoided eye contact, unsure whether to intervene or remain silent. Some customers lowered their heads, pretending to focus on their meals, while others watched with wide eyes, guilt pressing against their chests. The sheriff's voice carried across the room, sharp and impatient, but the soldier remained still, studying every detail. The German shepherd's tail stayed low, sensing the shift in its handler's breathing. Outside, a passing car slowed as if the world itself had paused to witness the scene unfolding behind the glass. Margaret wiped her cheek gently, her movements slow and dignified despite the humiliation she had just endured. She had lived long enough to know that anger often hid deeper wounds, but that understanding did not make the pain easier. Memories of years spent teaching kindness to children flickered through her mind, and for a moment she wondered if the lessons had truly reached anyone. The diner owner stood behind the counter, hands trembling, unsure how to help without making things worse. Every second stretched longer, the silence growing heavier. Then the soldier finally stepped forward, not with aggression but with calm determination. His presence shifted the energy of the room instantly. People straightened in their seats, sensing that something important was about to happen. He did not raise his voice or make dramatic gestures. Instead, he stood near his mother's table, placing himself between her and the storm without drawing attention to himself. The German shepherd remained steady, a quiet symbol of loyalty and control. The sheriff noticed the newcomer and hesitated, as if suddenly aware that the balance of power in the room had changed. The moment stretched into a fragile stillness. The soldier's expression held both pain and pride, reflecting years of service and sacrifice. He had seen conflict in distant lands, but nothing felt as personal as watching someone hurt the person who had raised him. Yet he chose patience over fury, allowing the weight of his presence to speak louder than any confrontation. Slowly, the sheriff's posture softened, his anger draining into uncertainty as he realized that the room was no longer on his side. The people who had remained silent began to shift, some standing up, others whispering words of support to Margaret. Time seemed to slow as the atmosphere transformed. What had started as fear became quiet solidarity. The diner owner approached with a napkin and warm tea, offering small gestures of care that spread through the crowd like ripples. Margaret looked at her son with recognition and relief, her eyes shining not with tears of defeat but with gratitude. The soldier nodded gently, his presence steady and reassuring. The German shepherd rested calmly at his feet, its watchful gaze reflecting the loyalty that defined both animal and handler. As the sheriff stepped back, something inside him appeared to crack. The authority he had relied on began to feel hollow in the face of silent judgment from the community. He lowered his head slightly, as if realizing the cost of his actions. The soldier did not celebrate or gloat, he simply stood beside his mother, allowing dignity to reclaim the space that had been taken from her. Outside, the afternoon light seemed brighter, washing the diner in a softer glow that hinted at healing. The rest of the afternoon unfolded slowly, filled with quiet conversations and renewed connections. People who had once kept their distance now offered smiles and gentle words, as if rediscovering a shared responsibility to protect one another. Margaret's strength inspired everyone present, reminding them that kindness could survive even in painful moments. The soldier stayed close, not as a hero demanding attention but as a son ensuring his mother felt safe again. His calm presence transformed anger into reflection, proving that true courage often looked like restraint rather than revenge. As the day drew to a close, the diner felt different, lighter somehow. The incident that began with shock had awakened something powerful in the community, a willingness to stand together rather than remain silent. Margaret left the diner with her head held high, supported by her son's quiet pride and the warmth of strangers who now felt like family. The sheriff, standing alone near the doorway, watched them go with an expression that suggested the beginning of change, though the road ahead would not be easy. Before we reach the ending, here's a special request. Write in the comments one act of kindness you have seen or experienced that restored your faith in people. In the days that followed, the story of that afternoon spread through the town, not as a tale of anger but as a reminder of resilience. Margaret returned to her usual seat by the window, greeted by smiles instead of silence. The soldier prepared to leave again for his duties, but this time he carried a sense of peace, knowing his presence had helped restore balance without violence. The German shepherd wagged its tail gently as if sensing that its mission had been fulfilled, at least for now. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and share your thoughts below, because your engagement helps stories of hope reach people who may need them most. In the end, what remained strongest was not the sound of a slap or the memory of fear, but the quiet power of dignity and compassion. Margaret's courage reminded everyone that even in moments of injustice, grace could rise higher than cruelty, and sometimes the greatest victory was simply choosing to stand together in kindness.